Hi, this is Amrita Sukumar, and I'm bringing to you this podcast called Unsettling. Look around you. Everyone is trying to create their own story. Make a tiny change in someone's life by just following their passion and, in turn, inspiring the others to follow suit. This podcast brings to you stories of people who have defied the definition of settled set by the society and have created their own. They have found happiness in their version of settled. What is yours? The world is becoming smaller and smaller, and information about what is happening around us is at our fingertips. Today's guest is a harbinger of stories, and he is here to share his story of becoming a broadcast journalist. I would like to welcome Rahul Bise. Hi, Rahul. Thank you for coming on the podcast.
Thank you so much, Amrita. It's a pleasure to be here with you. And yeah, it feels good.
Yes, it feels good to be talking to you as well. How is it going in the lockdown? How are you covering stories now? Is it safe?
The lockdown has seriously impacted the entire job procedure for every person for that matter, not just the journalist.
Uh-huh.
But as far as a journalist is concerned, he has to be a bit more careful while going out and covering the stories.
Yeah.
So let's just say for a person who is writing stories, he can actually do the stories while sitting home. He can talk to people over a phone call, or he can do a video call. But then as far as a video story or video storyteller is concerned, he has to be there at the place. He has to
Right.
place the camera. He has to frame the shots, and that's how the work moves forward. So
Mhm.
for a video journalist, it becomes even more difficult that he has to be there in the place. So for an example, if a person is going out there in a COVID facility or a hospital or somewhere else, it
Mhm.
becomes really difficult for that person. He has to take care, and it becomes even more difficult, because that person has to go back to his family.
Yeah,
And even I stay with my family, and I don't want to be a carrier to my parents.
yeah. Right.
Okay, even if I get infected, I'll be able to come out of it, but then I'm really scared. What if my parents get infected with it, and how about if they cannot come out of it, right?
Right.
So these kind of things are there.
That is true, man. It's actually a very scary world out there. I have not stepped out of the house in the past 5 months. I have seen a lot of my friends go through the frustration phase that how are you sitting at home? And
Right.
well, that is the best thing, right? Prevention is better than cure. So I'm sitting at home. Hopefully, a lot of people who don't have to step out are staying safe. But you
That's
are
the right
not,
thing to do.
unfortunately.
Amrita, that's the right thing to do. You don't have to step out of your place. Just stay there, be safe. And it's a chance to work on yourself, try to self introspect, do things which you were not able to do. And yeah, that's the way to go.
Exactly. That is what I've been trying to do as much as possible. So, how did you find your calling for it? How did you find your calling for journalism?
That's a, that's a long story, actually, Amrita. So I'm a student of political science, and before that, I was doing my engineering.
Uh-huh.
So as always, Indian parents, my parents wanted to see their child as an engineer. I have a sister, so they wanted to see her as a doctor. She was an obedient child, so she became a doctor. But me becoming a duffer person, I never, become an engineering thing. So I left my engineering at third year. I was a production engineering student,
Uh-huh.
and I never enjoyed engineering as much as enjoy this thing or political science or anything else. So I was just stuck there. Yeah, and I don't know. I never had that kind of guts to go against my family, or there is a thought back there in your mind always, कि uh, लोग क्या कहेंगे कि
Correct.
like इनके बच्चे ने engineering छोड़ दी, and what he'll do लाइफ में कैसा होगा आगे, ये वो ऐसे वैसे. But then
Uh-huh.
you just have to listen to your passion. You just have to listen to your heart. That's what I did. It took me 3 long years to gather the courage and come out to my parents that I don't want to be a part of engineering, and I want to do something else.
Okay.
So it was a bit hard in the beginning, but then eventually even they understood that my child is not happy here, and it's a wise thing to let him do what he wants to do. So that's how I left engineering and I shifted to political science.
Mhm.
And yeah, I completed my political science and had a great time of my life over there. I sincerely enjoyed every subject. Maybe international relations or political theory or comparative studies, whatever that may be. I really enjoyed that study.
Mhm.
And meanwhile, I was also getting involved in extracurricular activities. So any kind of literary activities, let's just say writing or elocution, debates, poetry, dramas,
Okay.
or anything, every sort of literary activities. I was very much kind of involved in there. At the
Mhm.
same time, youth parliament was there. Was part of youth parliament.
Oh.
International Economics Convention, I was part of it. Eventually I won best paper for that year. It was on the economy of Brazil.
Oh.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that thing happened there. And
Mhm.
then after that thing, I um, started to self introspect what I can do. And I was preparing for UPSC for
Mhm.
2 long years. I tried preparing for UPSC, and then something happened with my life, and I thought, I need a break from normalcy. And that's how I came to journalism. I just took a white paper, pen, and I started listing out what are good things in me, what are bad things in me.
Uh-huh.
And that's how I came to know, that I can be a good journalist. Why not? And
Right.
also, um, one mainstream national news channel was going on there, and high pitch debate was also going on. So I thought to myself, and I I, I just I don't know. It just came to me, like I can be a good journalist.
Mhm.
I have this thing in me. I like talking to people. I like knowing their issues. I like to represent or project those issues to the government or any pressure groups for that matter, and
Mhm.
it gives me pleasure. So that was my ikigai, that I got to know that I can be a good journalist. And that's how, it was all impulsive. And within that night only, I started searching which are the best colleges for journalism.
Mhm.
And then I came across this Asian College of Journalism. I applied for this thing, got through the entrance exam test, and apparently got the South Asia Federation scholarship as well.
Wow.
2 seats are given in India. One seat came to me. So it was all, like very much, what do we say, a thing for me, like.
Right.
So it just happened for me. Everything was placed for me. I just had to take that decision. I took that decision, and everything was sorted after that. So even in ACJ, the journey was extremely good.
Mhm.
Uh, many nice faculty members are there, and it's not a very conventional kind of institution.
Okay.
Like where everybody else stresses more on the theory. In ACJ, they give you more about practical knowledge,
Mhm.
how you can go directly into the street, how you can cover those issues, how you have to frame the shots, what is a long shot, what is a medium shot, what is close up, how you have to improve on the audio. So these are the kind of things that ACJ uh, gives you more introspect.
Okay.
And yeah, coming out of it, uh, it's a nice experience. Like it gives you a sense of responsibility, that you are skilled with this entire storytelling thing,
Mhm.
and it is now your responsibility to give voices to the people or to the communities which are least represented in the mainstream national media.
Right.
So yeah.
Wow. So when you say that everything was served to you in a platter, that's not actually true. I like the way when you said that you have written the pros and cons and what is good for you, what is not
Yeah.
good for you. You wrote down your strengths, and that is when you realize that you're good at journalism. We tend to get caught up in the entire rat race, right? When someone else is
Hmm,
doing
hmm,
something, we tend to follow them, and then we are unhappy with the
hmm,
fact that we are unable to find our calling because we have compared
hmm,
ourselves with someone else. And I'm really glad that you
hmm.
sat down, you wrote down your pros and cons, and found what you really wanted to do. So,
Amrita, that's the way to go, don't you think? I'm
yes,
sorry to interrupt you, but don't you
yes.
think that's the way to go? Like if somebody likes to do mathematics, or that person is good with engineering or
Mhm.
biotechnology or whatever that may be, so it's good for him.
Correct.
Every single human, every single individual is different, and
I know.
his life should be custom made according to him. It's
Mhm.
not like one ready-made site fits them all. No, it's not like that. It's
That's
all right if you suck at writing. It's all right if you suck at math. It's all right. You must be doing good at something, something else, somewhere else.
yes.
So that
Yes.
is the kind of, you have to be a better version of you, rather than just following somebody else just because my friend is doing something, so I should be doing that too. No, that's
Yeah.
not the thing. You have to, go inside, self introspect. Even the Bible says the, salvation lies within. It actually lies within. You
Yes.
don't have to look outside. You have to look inside. It's all there inside you. You have to know what you want to do, what you like to do, and
Mhm.
just follow that thing. And you can be, why you have to be somebody else when you can be yourself?
True. Agreed. So when
Yeah,
our parents
yeah.
used to tell us कि अगर तेरा दोस्त कुएं में कूदेगा तो तू भी कूदेगा क्या, was actually a life lesson.
Right,
Which we
absolutely.
missed out on.
Right.
So, well, you were talking about storytelling and everything that was taught in college. What are the different
Yeah.
styles of storytelling that you learned?
Okay, so there are various types of storytelling. One, the basic conventional one you can write down the stories, one where you can do a podcast or audio kind of stories,
Okay.
one where you can do video stories,
Mhm.
and the newer ways of stories. You can do augmented reality, you can do virtual reality. There are
Ooh.
multimedia stories where you sum up all these kind of factors into one medium. So let's just say you are into a web portal, you go to a website,
Mhm.
and there is one issue. So let's just say one issue is there. So
Mhm.
you start with a text. So you give a paragraph, what happened, this thing happened, that thing
Mhm.
happened, these kind of people were involved in that case. Okay, so next thing, you start with a video or an
Okay.
audio, whatever that may be. So you can mix and match. So that permutation
Oh,
combination of
yeah.
all these factors, you can actually put them together, and you can make one immersive multimedia story.
Wow.
So, and every kind of storytelling needs different sets of uh, uh, things to remember. So if you're
Mhm.
going for writing a written story, so
Mhm.
you have to focus on other things. You have to focus on what's the matter actually, and you have to but one thing is constantly, you have to stick to the facts.
Right.
That's the major thing, the facts, the ethics of storytelling. These are the kind of things which never um, um, these are the kind of things which are always constant.
Okay.
The morality, the ethics, the facts.
Mhm.
And yeah, what differs is just the way you portray the story. So if I'm going for video story, the language in which I'll be talking to a viewer or a audience would be completely different.
Right.
For a written story, the language is different. For an audio story, it's different. In
Mhm.
audio visual platform, we go for a very conversational language.
Right. Right.
It's not like, this happened, that happened. No, just the way we are talking informally, the language would be informal in those
Mhm.
things as well. And if you compare the augmented reality or virtual reality story with the conventional video story, the things completely take a different turn, because in VR the perspective is completely different, the
Mhm.
camera angle is completely different. In video story you see only two-dimensional things, but in AR and VR,
Mhm.
that's completely different. So you have to think with that 360 angle
Right.
in
Right.
your
Right.
thoughts as well. Yeah.
There are a lot of things that we miss out on when we are looking as a layman. I think I
Yeah.
definitely have not noticed all this. Thank you for bringing it to my notice. Uh, and Rahul, well, you're a freelance journalist. How do you choose the
Yes.
stories that you want to cover? Which are the topics that you usually cover? Is there a theme that you follow?
No, there is nothing, or there is nothing kind of thing that I go through. I just go through newspaper every day. I That's what I do. I read a newspaper, I listen to one radio broadcast, and I listen to one prime time news bulletin. That's what I do.
Okay.
I never go through 24-hour news channel. No, that's not what I really like doing. So these are the kind of news mediums that I go through. And I also have, what do I say, a nose for news, what is happening around me. So
Hmm.
if I see any significant kind of happening which is around me, and no mainstream media is going for it, I try to grab that news. That's what I
Okay.
follow. Because yeah, as a freelance journalist, that's the opportunity where you can shine. Because
Mhm.
mainstream media already has better minds with them, they already have a skilled storyteller with them.
Hmm.
So you might not be able to do a great job of storytelling,
Hmm.
but those media channels would be doing that.
Right.
So a freelancer, what you can do, let's just say, Amrita, you stay in Pune and
Hmm.
something happens in your vicinity,
Hmm.
and you have a better understanding of your vicinity more than anybody else. So
True.
you can tell that story better than anybody else, and that's what you're supposed to do. So that's what I also follow. I try to go there, I try to talk to people, get inside the news, try to read between the lines, And yeah, then that nuanced storytelling has to be there. You have to have something of your own,
Hmm.
add that all, make a package, and that's how you shoot it. That's how a story comes out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I thought that you have created your own base, contact base, and there are people who call you कि sir यहाँ पे हो गया एक report आप जल्दी से आ जाइए, something of that sort happens with you, and that is how you go
No,
there.
no, no, not at no. I'm really at a very early stage, at an early stage of my career. Like 3rd May was the date when I came out of my J school.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't have that vast kind of network with me. Like I'll be sitting at a place and people will be calling me that, Rahul, this thing happened. You have to
Yes.
cover this. No, nothing like that happened with me. I have to, keep a track of news, what's happening, what's not happening. And if
Okay.
it is happening, I have to go there, talk to people,
Hmm.
and I really enjoy this thing. Yeah.
So, how do you keep yourself unbiased when you're reporting a story? How do you check whether the story is authentic or not?
Okay. So there are two things now. One, you ask me how do I keep myself neutral
Unbiased.
or
Yeah.
unbiased?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And the second thing you asked me, which was
Whether the story is
I
authentic.
lost it. Okay, how are the stories authentic? Okay, so
Right.
authenticity of the story and neutrality of a journalist. Okay,
Reporter.
so
Yes.
the authenticity of a, yeah, exactly. So there
Hmm.
are sources to validate the story, to verify the story.
Mhm.
If I get to know, like let's just take an example of the recent story that I did. The
Hmm.
story was about the recent attack on Rajgruha. So the person who vandalized or attacked Rajgruha, his name is Vishal More. He's a
Hmm.
20-year-old guy who happened to stay in Kalyan.
Hmm.
So how do I validate this story? I'll have to call to the nearest police station or the main headquarters of Kalyan police station,
Hmm.
or I can go there as well. And
Right.
then I'll have to talk with people who are in authority, who are in charge,
Hmm.
and tell them that I'm doing the story and I need to verify the facts. So that's how they'll get back to you. This is the guy. Vishal More is his name. He's 20 years old, and yeah, we verify that this is the guy who did the attack, and right now he's in lockup. So
Okay.
yeah, this is one way. Another way you can verify the story is, you can always have a word with officials, authority, people who are there in government.
Hmm.
You can always talk to your fellow journalist. They can, do it for yourself. It's not possible, always something happens in Jammu and Kashmir, I cannot go there on my own.
Right. Right.
But then I can talk to the people who are there. So
Hmm.
let's just say my fellow journalist XYZ is staying there in Jammu, and I can call him up and I can ask him to do it on my behalf. That I have the story and I have to verify the story.
Mhm.
So he can do it for me as well. So these are the kind of things one has to go through. And we see that, many mainstream media
Hmm.
are sacrificing this verification part of thing,
Right.
just because they want to break the story first. And that thing is there, that gluttony is there. Everybody wants to break the story first, and
Right.
just by doing that they sacrifice the authenticity of the story. Many of times we see that, the news has been broken, or the news is completely altered in a way, and then when the facts come out, they completely, it comes out as a sham. So we have to stay away from, the breaking the news first kind of phenomenon. Second thing, how a journalist should be neutral. A journalist is a human first, right?
Right.
And he has his prejudices with him. So the very first thing is to accept that, I come from this family background or that family background, and
Hmm.
yes, I have a few inclination towards this side or that side. That's the very first thing.
Hmm.
If you say I'm a journalist, I'm already neutral, you go wrong there. It's
Right.
all right. You have to first come out of denial. That's what I did as well. I come from a family. All right, I've been brought up in such an environment, and everybody else is. So the
Hmm.
very first thing I could do, to accept that these kind of prejudices are there with me, and I have to unlearn these kind of things.
Right.
That's the entire journey. You have to unlearn those things, unlearn those prejudices. And once you're doing that, I think you're already moving closer towards becoming a neutral kind of person.
Mhm.
So when you're going for a story, when you're telling a story, you shouldn't be projecting facts which will, help any of the sides. Because I think a story has two sides. One positive and one negative. Your
Hmm.
story should always try to be there in the center. That's what I see. Let's just say if any political thing is happening or any you're covering any kind of election, you
Hmm.
don't have to take any sides, like BJP is doing that or Congress is doing that or
Right.
AAP is doing that,
Exactly.
or any AIDMK is doing that. No, you have to report what is happening and give a detailed analysis of how things were there in the past, how they are now, and what the future might be regarding entire this chronology. That's what a
Mhm.
journalist should do rather than taking sides. That's
Ah.
how I think a journalist can maintain his neutrality.
And that helps a lot, actually, because if you are
Yes.
not neutral, then no one will trust you, right? After that, once you make a mistake or you take sides, then people will definitely look at you in a different way, and it's better to be neutral, which is what you're
No,
doing.
but
That
I
is great.
think that thing is now becoming very less. Once you are
Yes.
taking sides, you have a ready-made base of audiences. People really like you if you are taking sides. Like we have this great nationalistic side, or we have
Yes.
this left
Yes.
side, and once we take or once we cater to any one of them,
Hmm.
people are really happy. Like this journalist is taking my side, or he's projecting my stories, so he's the best journalist. Others are
Okay.
trash. So yeah, so people find a ready-made base of audiences if they take sides. So it's quite
Okay.
normal, and it's quite lucrative to take sides these days. Yeah.
I'm glad you're not doing that yet.
No, no, not
Hopefully,
as of
we'll see
now.
the same kind of
Yeah.
reporting in the future.
Sure, sure.
But well, when you spoke about people taking sides and everything else, now people are owning smartphones with a camera, and everyone
Hmm.
seems to be turning into a journalist. So, how do you feel
Hmm.
that is affecting the authenticity of the stories coming out there and the perception of people about journalism?
Absolutely. So that's the kind of challenge the like entire has happened to the entire news business.
Hmm.
Everybody has a camera in their hand, and everybody can shoot the video and share it on WhatsApp or any social media platform. They can share
Yes.
it anywhere, and
Uh-huh.
that hampers the authenticity of a news. Because when I see like a person is kind of involved in any kind of argument with the police, and that has been filmed, and
Hmm.
then a person can write anything with that film footage. So he can write that police is doing any kind of atrocity, or that he can write whatever he wants to do.
Exactly.
Nobody can go there actually on the stay actually on the scene and verify these facts. So that makes it a bit challenging, but then it's a good thing. It's democratization of entire storytelling thing. Because
Hmm.
many times we see back there in the 70s and 80s, when the entire media was crushed by the government in the emergency period.
Hmm.
So this is the kind of democratization process happening, and this is kind of a phase. We'll evolve through this as well.
Hmm.
This is the very first time everybody has a cell phone in their hand. They're very
Right.
much excited, and yeah, so this is what happens in a very primitive stage. And I
Hmm.
think this is the kind of primitive stage that we are into. Definitely, as a society we are evolving, as a media we are evolving,
Hmm.
and entirely this will change after a while. Because what happens in any village where a ration store is doing any kind of atrocities or doing any kind of ill practices. So
Hmm.
those customers over there, those poor people over there, they have the kind of power, or the kind of authority in their
Right.
hand.
Hmm.
They can shoot the video, and they can completely break the news that something is happening. So we see
Hmm.
many atrocities coming out, we see many ill practices coming out, and at the same time there is a second side to the story as well. We see many fake stories,
Hmm.
or those kind of things. So those two sides are always there. But it's a good thing that these things are happening. They were not happening now. Many people can tell their story now. That's a good thing. The
Okay.
verification part is really necessary, and
Hmm.
I think will evolve with time. We
Right.
cannot say, like, let's just say when every 18 year, or every person who's 18 or above can vote. So you cannot take guarantee that every person will be in his senses while giving a vote. But then it's a good thing. It's democratization. We'll evolve through that process. We
Yes.
make mistakes, and that's how we learn. So yeah.
I like the way you think, because when I thought of this question, I felt that I was a little biased about this. I felt not everyone should have the rights to go and shoot a story. But when you talk about the atrocities coming outside, I feel Yes, that's a good thing, because of course the verification part is something that is missing, but then it's a good thing that people are telling about these things and it is coming to light. And because of that,
Right,
somewhere the power is getting shifted, whatever was there
right,
in the
right.
people who were at higher up, now it's coming back to the people, which is a wonderful thing that is happening.
Because the entire setup was designed in such a manner that
Mm.
we have very less verification models or verification centers. So let's just say we have agencies like Alt News by Pratik Sinha and others who actually go into the matter. They actually verify the source of the news, and they tell us that if the news is right or wrong, or if it is real or sham.
Hmm.
So we have very less kind of those portals like Alt News. So now Lullen Top is there, Indian Express is there, and many others are there who are
Hmm.
into the debunking of the news. So we need more of such portals who will
Right.
go there in the depths of the news and check the authenticity and validate the news.
Well, do you do all this by yourself or do you have a partner?
I do it all by myself.
Oh my God.
Yeah, yeah. Ekla chalo re is the policy for me as of now. So yeah, while going for the story, I pick out a story. I try to think it in many other perspective that I can do this story in this way, that way.
Mhm.
Then I try to have a word with the people who are actually involved in the story. I go there and I take out my camera. I have my mics with me. I have my tripod, monopod, all the other accessories. I
Mhm.
set that up. I ask my question. I come back home. I edit those footage, and then yeah, that's how I break my story. So
Okay.
yeah,
Long
one man
process.
does it all. Yeah.
Long process, and you're doing it all by yourself. Kudos to you.
Thank you so much.
But
Because
has
that's what I love doing. Yeah.
you love doing that, so that is why you're doing it diligently, so diligently, and that is definitely commendable. But does it ever happen that you have to bring out a story from a person and they are not so cooperative? So how do you deal with that? Have you dealt with someone like that?
There is a there is a manner in which you have to talk to people, because many times that has happened to me while I was in Chennai and even in Mumbai.
Huh.
So when you talk to cops, when you talk to police guys, they are never interested in talking to media. So
Mhm.
first thing, like you tell them that you are from media, so they'll be like, no, you talk to my senior. I'm not the right kind of person that you'll be having this conversation with. So you have to talk to my senior. Once you talk to their seniors, they'll never be like interested in giving the facts or passing the information. They'll be
Huh.
like, I'm at this position. I'm restricted with the information and everything. You can go talk to the PR. I'm not the kind of person. So that thing always happens. I'll tell you one of my experience. I was there in Chennai and I was trying to do a story
Hmm.
on BSNL and how the employees are suffering because of their pay cut in
Hmm.
BSNL. It's happening throughout the India. So
Okay.
it has been 6 or 7 months that the salary was not given, and all the
Hmm.
unions were protesting against it. So I went there in Chennai's office, BSNL office, main office, and I tried having a word with union,
Hmm.
worker union. They were quite helpful. They gave me all the information. They gave me sound bites, video bites, everything.
Hmm.
I got that. And then I wanted somebody from the authority to talk about it, how they are going to handle the situation. So I went there in the office. So I meet first person. He asked me to go to a second person, from second person to third person, third to fourth person. So like that, I have to wait for 5 hours.
Oh
And
my
after
God.
waiting for 5 hours, yeah, that the AGM or CGM or GM, general manager, I don't know who that person was. But
Huh.
then he asked me, like he simply says, I'm not the right kind of person. You should talk to PR. And
Hmm.
that's it, sir. I cannot help you with this thing. And I came back all the way. So that thing always happens. You have to be very patient, tolerant, and you should have a great network as well. That's what I
Hmm.
think, because just you just go there and talk to them. They'll definitely be a bit skeptical. Who's this guy? Why is he asking me questions?
Mhm.
And what if it goes against me? I'm a government employee. What
Hmm.
if government takes any kind of action against me? So those things are always there. So it's always good if you know anybody inside, and if you have better relations with the PR person, so the job becomes easier for you.
Hmm. So it is
Yeah.
very important to build a contact base, because without that, sometimes when you're reaching out to people who are of authority, it is a little difficult to get the story out of them. And it is quite valid also, because have been instances where the story has been twisted to
Hmm.
match corroborate with their story. And
Mhm.
well, I guess people are skeptical to talk to journalists, but I don't know how much patience you have. Why did you wait for 5 hours? But okay.
That story was actually important, like 6 months, 7 months, the salary has not been given. And people
Yeah.
are actually getting affected, like a person who's, as a peon or he's a sweeper there in the BSNL, it
Mm-hmm.
affects him. He doesn't get any kind of salary. He doesn't have that kind of savings with him. So it actually hampers those people. They don't get to eat. The children's school fees and other things are halted because of this thing. So it actually matters to them.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the reason why when you go out for a story, you have to remember all these things, that you'll be telling stories for all these guys. It's not only for the uh, better well-to-do people that you are telling the stories, but then you are telling the story on the behalf of these guys as well.
Yes, yes. It actually must have helped them a lot to put their story out there, because yeah, unless someone else takes a step up, I don't think anybody is going to listen to them. I know how
Right.
difficult it is to get anything done unless you are persistent and
Hmm.
repetitively going and talking to them. So, which you're doing. Thank you so much for doing that. Since you're a freelance journalist, I wanted to ask you this: whom do you submit the stories to? Are you working with a broadcasting channel, or have you created your own platform?
No, as I said, I'm working as a freelance journalist. So what I do, I get to pick my stories. I
Hmm.
pick my stories, and then there are always guys who we have to pitch our stories. So let's just say if I'm going for a first post, or I'm going for Wire, if I'm going for Caravan or somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
So there are these guys that you have to get in touch with. You have to pitch your stories to them, get your stories verified, and get your stories approved. And that's how you move forward. Once your story gets approved, you get a chance to work on your story in a better way, and then you discuss your story with them for the first draft, the edits and whatever. After 3 or 4 times, your story is finally ready.
Hmm.
And then you submit your story to them, and that's how they publish it. So it works that way.
Oh, it's a long process.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
But then
when
being a freelance journalist give me an edge, like I don't have to follow anybody else's policy or agenda.
hmm,
That's a better thing here. Because what happens, because if you're working with an association or if you're working with an agency, so
hmm,
you have to follow a certain set of rules. You have to follow their agenda. And somewhere I think that hampers any kind of journalism, because if you are working with an agency, and they have inclination towards certain political party or pressure group or whatever that may be,
hmm,
when you are telling a story which goes against those pressure groups or political parties, your stories are completely rejected, or you are asked to alter the story in such a way that it
hmm,
goes in sync with the pressure group and political parties.
right.
Being a freelancer, I have no such rules. I can be as honest as I can. I can be as bold as I can, and I can tell my story the way I want. So yeah, in a way, it's advantageous for me.
It is actually, when there is nobody else to supervise and then give you a lot of feedback. I feel that is
Yeah,
the best thing. Uh,
yeah,
yes, it tends to happen that when you're given the free chance to do whatever you want, then you tend to tell the story also better. Because once I
right.
feel, if even I have a job like that, I'm an architect. So when there is a lot of feedback coming in at a certain point, it doesn't become my design, it is someone else's design, right? And
Exactly.
then there is no fun in
Yeah.
it.
Hmm.
Then it's like your story, why don't you write it? Why do you want me?
Right, right.
It
Exactly. So they try to alter you in such a way that the initial design or the initial idea with which you started, that completely becomes something else only. It's not your idea; it's their idea. It's just
exactly
going by your name, but it's just that your byline is appearing there, but it's not your content at first place.
correct.
Yeah.
So, have people been really skeptical when you go with the camera and everything and you start shooting, looking into the
All the
camera?
time. All the time, all the time. Yeah.
Do they think
So
you're crazy?
while I was there in ACJ Chennai, so we had this big broadcast cameras with us, Panasonic P2HD.
Huh.
So those cameras need a big tripod with us, a big chunky suitcase to carry them. And when
Okay.
we go out, when we, like erect that tripod and place that camera over there, so everybody, looks at us, who are these guys? Why are they shooting me? Why are they doing this kind of things? So
Huh.
once or twice it has happened to me. I was right outside Chennai railway station,
Huh.
MGR Central, and I was trying to get an establishment shot of the railway stations with that camera. So two cops came to me and they were trying to, confiscate my camera.
Why?
So the thing about ACJ is that they never gave you any kind of reference letter or anything like that. They just throw you there into the scene. You
Oh
have
my
to
God.
deal with whatever comes to you, and it's entirely your responsibility. So in a way that actually prepares you in a holistic manner
Hmm.
when you go out into the ground while doing stories. So you have to know how to take a shot, how to tackle when police comes to you.
Hmm.
And yeah, but then that's a rule when you're going into a public space and you're carrying this mammoth size camera with you. You need to have a permission letter. But
Okay.
with, I guess, mobile camera, the things are pretty different. You
Hmm.
can place the camera like anybody, like you are taking a selfie or whatever that may be, and you can actually grab a nice footage. So mobile cameras are not that overwhelming,
Hmm.
but those big video cameras are really overwhelming. And I've seen it happening that when you place that camera and you ask person to stand in front of it and talk towards the looking at the camera, the person becomes really nervous.
Right.
And in that nervousness he forgets entire thing that he wants to talk. But you place that small size mobile camera in front of him and you ask him to talk, he'll be really free, he'll be really comfortable in front of that small camera, and he
Hmm.
speaks his mind. So in a way, yeah, as I said, democratization of the journalism
Hmm.
and mobile camera, how it has revolutionized entire scene. It is helping us to come out with better content as well.
Hmm. So
Yeah.
what kind of setup do you have? Do you have a big ass camera now, or are you using your phone camera?
I'm using my phone camera. I do have a DSLR with me, but
Hmm.
then I prefer to click only photographs with it.
Hmm.
I do all my shootings with my phone. I have an iPhone 10R, so I do all my shootings in that one.
Hmm.
And yeah, I the phone manages to get really nice videos. Um, and I guess it's one of the finest. iPhone video quality is really nice. It
Okay.
has a nice mic as well, so I make sure that I'm using a proper mic with me.
Hmm.
So I have a set of mics, one shotgun mic and one omnidirectional mic with me,
Okay.
and those help me get the audio very nice. Because when you're going for storytelling, you can audience can forget a bad video, but a bad audio is something which irritates a viewer or audience like anything else. It's
That's
okay if your shots are not matching or anything, but a bad audio completely ruins the experience of the audience.
true.
So video is really necessary, and which many others try to ignore that part. But
Hmm.
for me, video is really necessary. I make sure that my video is crisp and is clear. So that's why I use 3 or 4 mics. The video is there, and then I edit it with my sometimes I edit it with my phone,
Hmm.
or KineMaster or iMovie, or at times I edit it with my laptop as well, however the time permits me. So many of times it has happened, like I've shot the scene, I've edited the scene, and I've broke the news on the go. So like within
Wow.
I'll tell you one example. Like
Hmm.
we were covering one exhibition in ACJ itself. So
Uh-huh.
all the biggies were there, and Ram and other guys were there. So I shot him, I edited the scene, and I broke the news within 15 minutes. So within 15 minutes, shot was ready, it was edited, the voiceover was ready, and it all was out within 15 minutes. So now
Wow.
if you're working with your conventional cameras, you don't have that kind of speed with you, or that kind of flexibility with you, that you can do all this kind of work so instantly.
Hmm. That
Yeah.
is true. I completely agree because,
Yeah.
well, I'm going to pitch in my story also. So when I'm shooting stories for the podcast,
Yeah.
and when I do it with the phone, as you said, that it is quite easy to edit and upload. But when it is on the
Right.
camera, then you have to put it on your laptop, edit it, and then get everything right. Well, you did it in 15 minutes. Amazing. I'm going to take tips from you so that I also improve my speed.
Definitely, yeah. But
Thank
then
you.
things have come forward. The technology has evolved so much.
Yes, it
You know,
has.
like just go 2 years back, just a couple of years ago, the mobile phone video, the what do you
Quality was
say,
not
the
that great. Yes.
quality was not up to the mark, and things were pretty different. You know, the audio was very poor, all the accessories were not there. But now you have thousands of accessories. You have ND filters for your camera, a
Hmm.
mobile camera, I mean to say. There are various kind of lenses, there are various kind of stands, tripods, monopods, blah
True.
blah, and this and that. So many plethora of accessories with
Hmm.
which are people are coming out of full-fledged feature films with your phone camera. So yeah.
What is the most challenging part of this profession? What do you feel is most challenging till date?
The challenging part of this profession,
Hmm.
journalism.
Yes.
Okay, the profession itself is a very challenging one. You know, like if you are doing stories, light stories, that's okay. But at times there comes a time when you have to go for a very challenging or a very sensitive kind of story.
Yes.
And you know, if you are involved in that kind of story, it becomes difficult for you and your family.
Hmm.
So let's just say you're covering a story, you're covering a war, or if you're covering underground mafia or something like that, and if you get involved, something goes wrong, it becomes a danger to your life. Your
Hmm.
family might be in danger, and yeah, things can go wrong anyway. So you have to be very careful. You know, I've seen my like my professor back there in ACJ. They have interviewed Virappan. They have interviewed
Oh.
you know, the LTT Supremo Prabhakaran, and they share the experiences how they used to go there. How, I mean, like it is there, it is back there in the 90s,
Hmm.
when you know this entire satellite thing and digital revolution wasn't there. So they
Hmm.
have to carry this huge cameras with them, they have to carry the reels with them. And you know, Sri Lanka was going through a civil war back then, so they used to board a flight from Rameshwaram, and they used to get down at Jaffna, and from
Uh-huh.
Jaffna they used to go to, you know, the remote location where Prabhakaran used to stay there.
Hmm.
And yeah, it was all challenging. And for to me it was all, you know, like poetry to my ears. I really like this kind of adventurous thing. Yeah, and I
Yeah.
really look forward to go out on such expedition and cover these kind of stories. There are times when you know, like something goes wrong, it can be a danger to your life. You have to be
Hmm.
strictly careful in that manner. Yeah.
If you are not careful, if you're not politically correct all the time when you're reporting a certain thing, or if you're getting in your hands dirty by reporting something
Yeah.
that is a little unconventional, then definitely it is a really
Yeah,
challenging
because
part
these
to
days, you
handle.
know, like this online trolling and everything is always there. But then, okay, this is quite manageable. But
Hmm.
things go wrong, you know, actually, like you're doing any kind of stories where, you know, you must be knowing about the Reti mafias, you know,
Hmm.
who are involved in the kind of, what do we say, the river bed, what do you say, the Reti, usko kya bolte hain? I don't have it.
Silt या soil. Silt ही बोलते
Sand mafia.
हैं. Okay.
Riverbed sand. So they, you know, they take out all the sands from riverbed and they sell it off. So I've seen one or two instances when, you know, people go out there and complain,
Hmm.
and those people got killed. You know, people in the
Oh.
authority got killed. Yeah. Then there are oil mafias or diesel mafias. They, you know, do all this kind of kalabazari of fuel. And
Mhm.
once you go against them, they have this powerful connection in the entire system. They have their own entire nexus. You go
Hmm.
against them, they are so powerful, they can finish you off like within minutes. So you have to be careful in such cases. Yeah.
All the best to you. I hope you go big in this profession and you're careful. Find 2, 3 bouncers. If
I'll
you need,
try
you
to
call
be.
me also.
Sure.
I can be one of the bouncers.
Definitely.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, what is one message that you would like to give somebody who wants to pursue this as a profession?
Okay, so the message I would like to give, you know, just be yourself. You
Mhm.
don't have to copy anybody, uh, and you should know what you love doing, because that's important. That's necessary. You can be
Okay.
yourself. You don't have to be somebody else. That's what I would like to tell them. Journalism is a great profession. It gives you that kind of authority. You can be there in the scene. What is happening there? You know, like right now, the entire lockdown is there.
Hmm.
People cannot go out. But once you have a press card, you're a journalist, you can actually go out and tell the stories to people. You are that, you enjoy that kind of privilege.
Hmm.
So thousands of people might get bread and butter because of you, or if they are stuck somewhere, they can get help from the authorities. So that is the kind of thing, it gives you that kind of power. So I did one story about the loom workers of Bhiwandi.
Hmm.
So me and my fellow journalist Sukanya Shanta,
Hmm.
we both went to the Bhiwandi, and as you know, Bhiwandi is a textile town, and it is like 70 or 80 kilometers away from mainland Mumbai, and 80 to 90% of the entire population are migrant workers in Bhiwandi.
Hmm.
So all these guys are coming from other states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, uh, uh, Jharkhand, West Bengal, and other states. These guys are really poor, and
Hmm.
they are working for 17 odd hours every single day just to get 300 to 500 rupees per month. All right,
Oh my
that's
God.
the kind of amount they get at the end of the day.
Hmm.
And when this lockdown happened, all these migrant workers, all these daily wage laborers, they were stuck into town of Bhiwandi.
Hmm.
And after a week or so, after a 10 days of period of time, they didn't have anything to eat. They were all the savings were gone, and they didn't have any kind of help from outside world. They were just stuck there. They were very vulnerable. So I had a chance, just because of Sukanya. I went there with her, and I tried to cover that story. That story went viral. Many people, and as a result of it, many NGOs, many people came forward.
Oh.
They raised money for these people, and I really feel pride, and I feel really happy to share this. Like, the
Hmm.
people who were stuck there, they got a chance to go back to villages, and those who chose to stay there, they're now getting ration. They're getting now wheat, rice, or whatever they want to eat. So they're getting the supply of ration, and they can live their life there. So that is a positive impact of news you can have on people's life.
Wow.
So this is the kind, I mean, if you are into other profession, you might not be directly into touch with the the customer base or the people you are working for. But
Hmm.
here in journalism, you can actually see things happening. You work from them, you work for them, and you project their voices to the system. System looks into the matter, and those guys are benefited with help which they wanted. It feels good,
I can
you
imagine.
got a chance, you got a chance to amplify their voice. You do that. And previously, the guys who were really pleading, sir kuch to kar dijiye, hame yahan pe khane ke liye nahi hai,
Hmm.
and corona se to hame dar nahi lagta, bhook se hi marne ka dar lagta hai. So these kind of the things, the lines, when you hear them, it becomes all the way even more necessary for people like me to break those stories, to make their voices even more loud to the government, to the administration. And yeah, somebody who would like to be a journalist has to take note of two or three things. First, the neutrality part. Second thing, the ethics and morality part. And the last and the most important part, you should love this kind of thing. You should be adventurous by default.
Hmm.
And you have to be fearless to a certain extent as well, because police and other things and many many more things are going to be there, standing in front of you and your story.
Hmm.
You should know how to tackle them, how to dodge them, and get the story out. So yeah, that was all from me. Like, I'm a very rookie kind of a guy. I'm just starting off with my career, so I might not be able to give you all the the things. But then I can tell you
No,
what I've been
but
through,
I
what
think
I've
you
learned
have
through my
given
journey.
a lot of information for somebody who wants to start out. And since you are starting out and you are on field, you know what is happening at ground level. I think this is a wonderful insight for people who are just starting out, who are just getting into the profession, and they know what is going to come their way before they step into
Right,
it. It might
right.
definitely help them out. This is one last question that I would like to put to you. It's called, what is your definition of settled? Because everybody asks you to settle down, and I said, let's make our own definitions of it. So, what is your definition of settled?
Settling in life, like, I don't know. It's my completely personal opinion. I'll never be able to settle in my life. That's what I see. Once you settle in your life, you should never stop at certain location. That's what I see,
Hmm.
because our life is always evolving. We are always evolving as a person.
Hmm.
Why should we settle somewhere?
Right.
You should always look for outdoing yourself. That's what I see.
Hmm.
I come from a Marathi medium school, and yeah, things were pretty different back then. Now I'm part of this mainstream media or English news making business kind of thing. I don't see any kind of hurdle just because I was there in the Marathi medium. So you have to always evolve yourself, and I'm pretty much sure that the moment the way I am right now on 30th July 2020, after 5 years or a couple of years, I won't be the same. And I'm sure about you as well, Amrita, you won't be the same.
Oh,
Because
yes.
we have this kind of inherent zest in us that we have to outdo ourselves all the time. Every podcast that we do, we have to do it in a better way
Hmm.
next time, right? So I see it in myself as well. Every story that I do, it has to be better. It should outdo my previous story. It goes with the life as well. You have to be a better person. You have to be a kinder person. You have to be an empathetic person in
Hmm.
your personal life as well. And that's how you should be. Why to settle when you can be a better person, or when you can grow more and more? Why you have to be settled somewhere?
Agreed.
Yeah,
Agreed. Definitely.
I
With
mean, that's a very mainstream and conventional idea, no?
I
You have
know.
to pass certain, you have to pass certain exam, you have to take certain degree, you have to do
Yes.
certain job, you have to marry at certain age, you have to have children at certain age, you
Agreed.
should get retired at certain age, and then you're left to die. So we are just like, the poultry chicken. They have their shelf life. They are raised in such a way. They have to eat in such a manner. Then they are transported from their poultry to the distributor. From distributor, they go to the, what do we say, the chicken shop, and
Yes.
there
Slaughterhouse, actually.
वहाँ पे उन्हें halal किया जाता है. So that's what happens. So in this day and age, this entire scenario is like that.
Hmm.
uh, as we have an entire separate ministry for human resource. Human has become a resource now. Humans are raised in a way, humans are given education in a way, they are asked to do a job in certain way, and
Hmm.
then they're given a salary in such a way, and finally they're left to die. Once they are not able to perform, they are made retired, or VRS, voluntary retirement service, everything that happens,
Hmm.
and they get retired. What's next after that? I don't
Nothing.
know. I don't want to. I mean, many people might be happy doing that thing. I'm not one of them. I want to, I want to break this caste. I've already tried doing it in my past, and I'll keep doing it in the future as well. I don't want to be a poultry chicken here. I'll try to find my own way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the message. I'm sure that people will stay unsettled. People will be a better version of what they were last time. And thank you for all the knowledge that you have shared about journalism, different styles of storytelling, how to be
Come
a
on,
freelance
Amrita.
journalist.
No, no, nothing like that. There is no kind of knowledge, nothing at all. It's
It
just we,
is
you and me
knowledge to
having this kind of
experience.
conversation. No, no, I've not given any kind of knowledge. It's just whatever was there stored in my mind, I've just, vomited here. Nothing else. No
And
knowledge,
that
nothing
was
at
the
all.
plan. That was the plan. At least I got a bit of knowledge. Now I know more about journalism. I know what the profession entails and how much effort goes into getting a story out there. So for me, at least,
Well, you are just being
I
kind,
got
Kanti.
a
Yes.
bit of knowledge. So I would like to say it's for me, listeners. If you get a little bit more knowledge, wonderful. But thank you so much,
Thank you so
Rahul.
much for being kind. Yeah. You're just being kind to me. Yeah.
I am just being honest. But do let me know. Do I have to share any links about your work so that um, people
I,
can
I
read?
can share with you. I can share
Okay.
it with you.
Yeah.
I'll forward those links to you. You can share them as well.
Yes, I'll be adding the links in the description. You can go check out his work and please keep supporting him. Thank you so
Definitely.
much. Thank you for doing this.
And I would like to say something to your audiences. Like Amrita is doing a great job. Please follow her. She just like me, she is also doing it on her own. She takes her time out to record all these interviews. She makes sure that she prepares a list of questions. She asks them out. Then she has the patience to edit that stuff. And make it really exciting. And take and come out and present all this kind of information or entertainment in a podcast and serve it to you. As an audience, I would request you to support her with all your heart and
Aw.
share this podcast, listen to this podcast, and if you find it helpful, just let us know about it. Let Amrita know about it. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. Thank you
So
so
kudos
much.
to you, Amrita. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Rahul. Thank you so much for doing this.
Thank you so much for making me part of it. I'm really happy. And even if a single person gets to know more about this profession or anything about life, I would be really happy to know about it.
I'll definitely let you.
And lots of positive vibes to all the audiences, all the listeners, to you and everybody out there. Do good with your life and try to be as happy as you can. Try to be content. That's the way to go.
Yes, we will definitely keep this in mind for sure.
Thank you. Thank you so
Thank
much,
you. Thank
Amrita.
you. Bye.
Hello, people. Thank you for tuning in. If you like this episode and you like Unsettling, all you have to do is give me a feedback. And for that, please visit my Instagram page, that is amritasukumar_unsettling. And well, you can send me a DM or you can send me a mail. All the details are there on that page. I would love for you to just tell me how you feel. Yeah. And I will get back to you. And if you have any people who would like to share their stories, you have to let me know because I would love to listen to them. Till then, stay tuned to Unsettling. Like, share, subscribe, follow, let your friends know, and stay safe. Yeah? Bye.